What's in a smile? A simple smile could mean little to you or I, but to someone thinking about suicide, it can be the first step towards life. Suicidal thoughts are complex. No one knows exactly what works to stop another tragedy, adding to the 800,000 suicides and 20 million attempted suicides a year. We do know, though, that certain actions can make a difference. And we know that if we put a wide range of these actions in place, we have a better chance of preventing suicides. Community support to counter the isolation so often felt. Responsible and sensitive media portrayals to help people see how others have managed. Local education to create awareness in the community. Restricting the means of suicide to stop people at critical moments. All these actions have been shown through research to work. But we can't do all this alone. We need people on the ground to help us make the first step towards those with suicidal thoughts. By stepping closer, we can be aware of those around us who need help. By stepping closer, we can encourage those with suicidal thoughts to reach out. By stepping closer, we can support those in need by sitting in their pain. Every step closer can connect someone to life and the help they want. Sometimes those steps are big. Sometimes all it takes is a smile.
And I will never hear someone tell me, put a smile on your face the same way again. But September is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. And today, Thursday, September 10, is recognized globally as Suicide Awareness Day. Persons are encouraged to light a candle at 8 p.m. in remembrance of loved ones, those who have died, and to decrease the stigma around this issue. We are joined this evening by Maria Divina O'Brien, Director of Mindwise Project, an NGO heavily engaged in what is happening with suicide in TNT, as well as Dr. Margaret Nakhid-Chatoor, immediate past president of TTAP, the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists. We want to thank you for joining us, ladies. And Maria, I want to start with you, please. Give me an overview of Mindwise, the NGO, and some of the statistics on suicide up to date.
Hi, great to be here. Mindwise Project is a national focus on concentration for our local community here in Metal. A collective of creative and mental professionals, and the all our application. We work with the support of TTPS to share recent statistics on suicide in Trinidad and Tobago with the public. Are you hearing me fully?
Okay, it's yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure it's to the store.
Not a problem. Fine, thanks.
So the recent statistics that we hold shows that in the last 8 months, we have lost 74% to suicide. 25% of those persons were over the age of 60. 80% were boys or men, and 20% were girls or men. The rate of suicide in Trinidad and Tobago as of 2019 was 3.5 days for each suicide, which is 2 persons a week. We found that statistics were very disturbing, mostly because it shows a very steady rate of losing people to this crisis.
And we continue with you momentarily. Thank you so much. Margaret, in terms of September 10, World Suicide Prevention Day, what is TTAP doing to observe the day?
All right, so in September, we have recognized that, as you said, this is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Last Sunday, we held a virtual forum where we spoke about suicide, but one of the presentations especially focused on adolescent parental bereavement and what were some of the risk factors for teenagers doing self-harm and also having suicide ideation. For the entire month of September, we intend to print articles or to have articles in the newspapers because, as again, it is an awareness of the issue. It is to alert family members, friends to the warning signs of suicide ideation, and also as a community, as a collective, to hopefully take measures to help persons, to listen to persons, and not to continue the stigma that is usually associated with suicide. In the Caribbean and in many other countries, suicide is still stigmatized. Persons do not want to hear about it. Persons do not want to hear that you are having troubles or that you're going to depression. Many of them believe that you could get out of it just like that. So it is an attempt during this month to raise an awareness of the issue and to help persons be more alert to family members and friends.
Now, Margaret just spoke about not necessarily wanting to deal with the issue, telling somebody get over it. But when sometimes it only reaches you when it's right there within your circle. Surviving a friend's suicide or a friend's death by suicide and that ripple effect. What are some of the ways that persons can be affected when someone right inside their circle dies by suicide?
Is that a question for me or Dr. Chatoor?
Maria, you go ahead.
Thank you,
So
and
sorry
then we go
about
to Dr. Margaret.
So basically, for me, I have experience having survived another suicide in 2011. Basically, I think it's important to state that the loss of a close person to you or loved one to suicide is a very traumatic event. It is something that disrupts your life entirely. It requires a great deal of support, connection, and in my personal opinion, I hope Dr. Chatoor shed some light on this on the professional side. I do think that treatment is a very important part of surviving that loss successfully. It's something that doesn't only affect the individual whose life is lost, it affects the entire community. So you have one person, their close friends, a circle around them, and then you have the expanded community around that. And each person is touched by life that is lost. You know, when we look at the statistics that says that we have lost 74 persons this year, I don't just see 74 persons affected by suicide. I see our entire country being affected by these lives that are lost, by these newspaper lines, by this hopelessness that is being communicated to us as their community. People are reaching out. They're sending a message that they need help and they need more support.
And I'll ask you the question as well, please, Dr. Chatoor, but I'll actually ask it also adding the context of the fact that we are in a pandemic where things have been turned on their head and COVID-19 and our resulting safety measures have been put in place.
All right, thanks a lot. So as you know, suicide is an intentional, purposeful act. It does not happen randomly. Death by suicide happens when pain, a person's pain, exceeds their resources for coping with this pain. And in many instances, they want to find alternatives to suicide. However, COVID-19 has added new stressors to person's lives. As we know, many persons have lost their jobs, their homes. Some of them have had to close their businesses. We have seen an increase in intimate partner violence, domestic abuse, and persons especially who have had pre-existing mental health issues may not during this time have access to their healthcare providers or even taking their medications on time. So you asked about the ripple effect. And as some of the statistics have told us, in the age group 60 and over, thus far, 17 men have taken their lives, and 80% of the suicides in Trinidad are male-related. And we have to ask ourselves the question, what is it that possibly are pushing these statistics into a higher zone more than ever? And the International Association for Suicide Prevention has added to this, because they have told us that the pandemic has impacted all aspects of people's lives, their relationships, their health, their well-being. So this is not just a Trinidad issue. This is happening globally, and we are seeing where the rates are increasing dramatically. I just sent out these statistics to many people, and they are surprised that in Trinidad, the rates are very high. So yes, COVID-19 has added new stressors and thus increased persons' chances of taking their own lives.
And we'll continue this conversation.
We need people on the ground to help us make the first step towards those with suicidal thoughts. By stepping closer, we can be aware of those around us who need help. By stepping closer, we can encourage those with suicidal thoughts to reach out. By stepping closer, we can support those in need by sitting in their pain. Every step closer can connect someone to life and the help they want.
Welcome back. We are speaking with Dr. Margaret Nakhid-Chatoor, immediate past president of TTAP, as well as Maria Divina O'Brien, director of Mindwise Project. And Maria, I want to go to you, please, asking, on the way forward after surviving your own suicide ideation.
I had to think a lot about how I was going to talk about topic because it's so sensitive. I think it's important to start. Those who survive another suicide are at a special risk. What this means is that they've experienced a unique and extraordinarily difficult trauma. It's not just the loss or the funeral arrangements or the police and legal side of investigation that surround a suicide. It's the hopelessness. It's the sense of not having something to live for, especially if that person is someone very close to them. In my case, it was. I do think that suicide ideation is very common among suicide survivors of another side. Dr. Chatoor can shed some light on that afterwards, but it is something that I wanted to talk about because suicidal ideation on the whole, I made a little note as to how I was going to try and talk about this. We have a sort of keep calm, carry on attitude when it comes to mental health distress in our culture. We sort of put it in a box and we put it on a shelf and we think that it stays on the shelf. But that's not how this type of trauma especially works. And in fact, going through it introduced me to trauma. I didn't understand trauma or never really had to use the word until I was experiencing what I can only describe as a highly disruptive type of distress. And in our culture, I think we mask it. We have masks that we wear. We cover. Something really bad happens to you. Our sort of social response is, hey, let's go out, let's forget about it. Let's have a good time, let's have a laugh. We want to immediately displace the suffering and the pain with something positive, something that feels pleasant. Meanwhile, the important work of going through that trauma, working through it with a mental health professional is very important, whether it be loss of someone to suicide, whether it be parental grief, which Dr. Chatoor gave an excellent presentation on. And I myself so recently experienced the loss of my mother. No matter what losses, no matter what the pain is, our culture is not to work through it. We want to cover it. And I think that's why, as when it comes to suicidal ideation, we need to create safer spaces for a person to talk about the fact that they're having suicidal thoughts. And I think that very often, a person who's truly experienced a high level of despair and hopelessness will not have the strength to face the still challenges of finding the support that they need, which is when it comes back to the community. The community needs to come together to support community mental health.
And
It's not just something that an individual can bear the entire responsibility of creating their coping network.
And with that in mind, I want to bring in Dr. Chatoor for a moment, please, Maria.
In learning, learning about what signs are, what the warning signs are. They need to pay attention.
Definitely,
to,
and that is the question I want to ask Dr. Chatoor.
The stress.
In terms of, okay, so that's one of the things I want to ask Dr. Chatoor about. So it would be remiss of me to not ask you to define suicidal ideation and then give us some warning signs. What are some of the courses of action that we can take?
All right, so suicide ideation, there are two, there is active and passive. I just want to note here that for every person who takes his or her life by suicide, there are 20 other persons thinking of doing it. And that is where prevention comes in. If we can look at the warning signs. So active suicide ideation are persons who are thinking of suicide and self-harm, and they already have a plan to carry it out. Passive suicide ideation is you're thinking about it, but there is no plan. So what are some of the warning signs we have to look out for? Talking about wanting to die, being a burden to others. As Maria said, feelings of sadness, hopelessness, unbearable pain. You think that nobody can understand what you're going through. Withdrawal, taking risks, possibly eating more, sleeping more, alcohol and substance use. So during this time, we want to alert people to the warning signs. Sometimes persons who live on their own, it's very difficult to know what's happening. So as Maria said, the community effort, the village effort, the effort that during this pandemic time, also social isolation and physical distancing increases depression, increases hopelessness, increases sadness. So we have to be alert to members of our own family who are withdrawing, who are locking their doors, who are, we have to be alert to these signs. Yes.
All right, so we have just a minute more, ladies. So please give us contact information. We've been sharing some of them, but in terms of getting numbers, websites, and I'll start with you, Dr. Chatoor, please.
All right, so for the last few months, we have had our hotline. Again, you can go up to our site, www.psychologytt.org, or call our number, 717-8827. There, you should also have numbers handy like Lifeline, Childline. These are toll-free numbers. For Lifeline, it's 800-5588. But if you recognize signs, call someone. Go up, call our number, 717-8827. Again, get help. You can't do it on your own sometimes.
Contact information, please, Maria.
Hi, so thanks so much for letting us be today. We are Mindwise Project. You can visit our website at www.mindwisettt.org. We are very interested in collaborating and partnering with other mental health professionals and networks that are supporting increased accessibility to information here in Trinidad and Tobago about mental health services. And I didn't leave on a note, as we only have 1 minute left, which is for anybody who is struggling with suicidal crisis. Relief is a feeling, and you must be alive to feel it.
All right, so thank you very much, ladies.
And very often seeking relief. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you so much, ladies. And on behalf of the entire news team, I'm DK Rossa. Thank you for joining us. Good night.